going on, everybody? I am Winston A. Marshall, aka the Swaggy Blerd, and this is the Blerd Breakdown, the pop culture show that lets you know what had happened was. Now, if this is your first time here, please be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you know anytime I'm putting out new content. And if you enjoy this video, please be sure to put a like on there, man. And again, get in the comments. All these stories that I'm going to be covering today, it's stuff you've probably already heard about. Some stuff maybe you haven't gotten a deep dive into, but we're going to have a discussion about all that's going on, man, because it feels like a civil war out here at times, man. So definitely come on in. Let's talk about it, and let's jump right into it. If you haven't heard, Kendrick Lamar has been announced to be performing the Super Bowl halftime show in February. And some folks are excited about it, and some folks are pretty pissed off. Now, I'm going to be taking an amalgamation of all the stories from TMZ as this stuff has been rolling out. Kendrick Lamar will perform the halftime show at Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans. The NFL and hip-hop superstar announced Sunday morning, one of the highest-profile gigs in the world. Kendrick, a 17-time Grammy winner, had arguably the song of the summer in Not Like Us, and with Drake, was part of the biggest rap beef in at least a decade. What's the deal, everybody? My name is Kendrick Lamar, and I'll be performing at Super Bowl 59, K.Dot said in an announcement video as he stood on a field in front of a giant American flag and fired footballs from a jugs machine. Will you be pulling up? I hope so. You know, there's only one opportunity to win a championship. No round twos. Let's get it. Speaking of Drizzy, the round two reference in the halftime announcement is likely a shot at the rapper, who had been teasing a second go-round with Lamar. As for the timing of the halftime show headliner, the NFL wasted no time this year. The league typically waits until a few games into the season, but this time around spilled the beans on Sunday after Week 1 kickoff. NFL is no stranger to locking down top talent for the Super Bowl halftime show. Last year, Usher had the honor of performing, while Rihanna held down Super Bowl 57, and 56 was Dr. Dre, Eminem, Snoop Dogg, Mary J. Blige, and 50 Cent, and it was epic. The show has also featured legends like Prince and Michael Jackson. Performers often bring out guests, and Kendrick has worked with everyone from Eminem to Travis Scott, so expect some friends. Now, not everyone is as excited about this year's Super Bowl because some people wanted hometown favorite Lil Wayne in New Orleans next year. While many people are excited Kendrick's getting his own show after appearing alongside other rap legends back at Super Bowl 56, others pointed out New Orleans has its own star rapper who should have got the top spot. DJ Academics, for example, pointed out that Kendrick's a great performer, but Super Bowl 61 is supposed to be in LA anyway, so the NFL could have waited 2 years to book him. Master P put out his own statement too, calling Kendrick as one of the best in the rap game, while also questioning why Lil Wayne wasn't picked to perform. Fans are parroting more of the same on X, giving Kendrick his flowers and agreeing the NFL fumbled this one. Worth noting, no one's saying Lil Wayne won't perform with Lamar. They made the song Mona Lisa on the Carter 5 together, which could be a fun way to incorporate Wayne. That said, most people think it should have been Wayne's show, with Kendrick possibly showing up to cameo. Nicki Minaj has joined the 20v1 against Jay-Z after he awarded the New Orleans show to Lamar instead of Wayne, and the Queen Barb was spewing all sorts of ether in his direction. According to Nicki's POV, Jay-Z sold out for the NFL when Colin Kaepernick kneeled on the field to protest police brutality, actions of a house N-word with an ER. I'm trying not to ruin my monetization, so I'm not just saying it out loud. And despite his riches and success, is still a hateful and ugly person. Today, Bootsy Badass also came to Wayne's defense, accusing Jay of reviving a vendetta against Drake at the twilight of his beef with Kendrick. Nicki has been an unflinching soldier since Wayne's Young Money jump, but she also has her own bone to pick with Jay, stemming from her beef with Roc Nation artist Megan Thee Stallion, a feud of women business that is still very much alive. She also invoked 50 Cent's claims that Eminem had to intervene on the Super Bowl 56 halftime stage after Jay was playing hardball and called for New Orleans residents to do the right thing like a Spike Lee joint. For his part, Jay backed the Kendrick halftime pick by calling him a once-in-a-generation artist and performer. Birdman has also entered the Super Bowl 59 chat, and he has some tough talk about the Roc Nation boss. After Nicki took swipes, Birdman backed her up and promised revenge. These N-word, P-word, Nicki Minaj, Drake, Tunchi, YMCMB. I'll make these N-words respect us on Gladys, a deceased to his dead mother. Charlamagne the God thinks people need to lay off of Jay-Z and Rock Nation for selecting Kendrick Lamar over Lil Wayne and started congratulating them for keeping Taylor Swift off the stage. On Monday's Breakfast Club segment, Charlamagne said Taylor's omission was cause to celebrate good times. Come on. Taylor's record sales have been shattering the atmosphere the last few years, but Charlamagne applauded Rock Nation's clear push of hip-hop and R&B acts as of late, and the performers just happen to be black. Breakfast Club guest host Lauren LaRosa pushed back with an outrageous take right for the Swift Tea podcast that Taylor was the best thing to happen to the NFL since the kicking tea. But Charlamagne the God would hear none of it. The Weeknd, Usher, Rihanna, and even Kendrick, along with several other West Coast legends, have all been a part of the gigantic events, and we can imagine it's only a matter of time before Taylor dominates a halftime set of her own. And finally, radio host Big Boy is baffled that Kendrick Lamar was chosen, saying there's been an obvious decision here that was not made. On TMZ Live Monday, Big Boy shared his unfiltered opinion on Kendrick scoring the coveted halftime spot. According to Big Boy, ahead of Sunday's announcement, he would have bet big money that Lil Wayne was going to be tapped for the huge honor since NOLA is his hometown and all. He added, you don't have to dig Wayne up. You don't have to say, hey, remember Lil Wayne? Like, we need to get someone from New Orleans. He's that guy. Cash Money was that group. Big Boy noted that the selection speaks volumes about the rapper's epic year with his hit Not Like Us. Big Boy admits Kendrick has plenty of hits to warrant the halftime pick, noting there's no escaping Not Like Us with a single surfacing at the DNC and various NFL games, among other high-profile events. Okay, let's talk about it because, my God, that's a lot to speak on, man. First of all, Kendrick has had one of the biggest years for a rapper in a long time. That beef was absolutely everywhere. It fully dominated the news cycle. It has been number one on the charts and everything like that. We're just at a spot where, like, Kendrick is the guy right now. So that part makes sense there. I agree with a lot of folks that if we were really going after the hometown thing, then it would have made more sense to pull Lil Wayne. I know the argument of, like, it's in New Orleans, why isn't Wayne doing it, is a little silly of an argument to me because there hasn't really been the first time that connection happened was Dre at 56 at Super Bowl 56. That's really the only time that's been a thing. Rihanna's not from Arizona; she's from Barbados. Usher's not from Vegas; he's from Atlanta. Now, and had an Atlanta homage. Now, mind you, he had the biggest residency in Las Vegas for the last couple of years. So I understand that that's another reason to tap him there since he's already there, an homage to his show, all that kind of stuff. But this has never been a thing about doing it in your hometown. The reason why I guess LA was such a big deal for that was because, if I'm not mistaken, if it wasn't the first time it had been in LA, no, it wouldn't, because it's been to the Rose Bowl a number of times. It was the first time at SoFi, which was in Inglewood specifically. So, like, you're not obviously talking Compton or LBC where, you know, Snoop and Dre are famously from, but you are talking about, like, the kind of collective black hoods of Los Angeles as far as, like, tipping your hat to that. And it's the first time in that, like, kind of major sense, because the Rose Bowl is Pasadena, which is part of the LA area, but that's like the suburbs. That's not, it plays differently. It plays very, very differently. So I understand the connection there. Now, I'm not saying you don't take away the New Orleans element from it whatsoever. Lil Wayne is literally a legend. He's an icon. On top of his catalog and the things he's done, his mixtape Wheezy and all of the number one hits he's had, all of the songs he's been featured on. He also brought up two of the biggest rap stars in the game in Drake and Nicki Minaj after him as well. So everything from him with the Hot Boys and, Back That Ass Up with Juvie and all of that, all the way up to what he's done up to this point. Probably the most influential person in hip-hop, if you want to make that argument. Now, at the same time, part of the other thing that I think people aren't necessarily keeping in mind, there's two major elements that kind of stuck out to me about potentially choosing Lil Wayne. He did mention in a podcast that this is something that he really would love to do and he would want to do, and especially for New Orleans. And I think that's the other sad part about it that I don't love, that he's not getting that opportunity. If you haven't seen it, I didn't pull it because I didn't really have time to. go watch Lil Wayne at Essence Fest this year. Go watch Lil Wayne from performances like that in recent memory, and they haven't been up to what his standard has been throughout his career. Now, I'm not saying that if, you told him this far in advance, bro, you're playing the Super Bowl, that he wouldn't potentially get it together or anything else like that. But I definitely could see some of the decision-making being like, hey, yo, I saw what just happened a couple months ago. I don't know about all this because, again, this is like a business situation. Like someone brought up a good point. There was a news article that came out earlier this year that there was a point at which Lil Wayne owed like $14 million in back taxes, and Jay-Z actually was the one that fronted Wayne the money to handle that. It wasn't Birdman, it wasn't Drake, it wasn't Nicki, it was Jay. So Jay clearly doesn't have beef with Wayne. He might have some beef with like Nicki and Birdman and Drake, and maybe that's part of what's dragging into this. But unless you can really kind of connect the dots to that, man, you're jumping a lot of steps and ignoring things on its face, including, it's very funny to me for Nicki to bring up you out here being a house slave and all this stuff, for the NFL, when in the same breath, we've actually seen Wayne a couple times now bring up stuff about when people were saying Black Lives Matter, he's like, I mean, my life matters. I don't see that racism. Like, again, look up the clip. He did a whole interview about it. He's like, my life was totally fine. If racism was really that big of a problem, how would I be this successful? Like, these are some of the things that he was saying in that regard, on top of the fact that there was a point at which he met with Trump about this whole platinum plan, which didn't actually go forth with anything. So, like, there's a lot of stuff that if this is supposed to be kind of a pro-black situation, I'm not saying that Wayne hasn't been, but there have also been some questionable things that he has said recently in, like, interviews within the last few years that is kind of like, I could also see maybe that too, maybe a pivot because of some of those things. It's really complicated and convoluted, and I'll say this, man. I think the most important thing is that, as being said, Kendrick is incredibly talented. He's one of the most decorated artists of all time. It makes sense after this big moment that he's just had this year why he would get that nod. It is sad not to see Wayne do it, especially because then you could have Wayne bring up No Limit, bring up Cash Money, bring up all of those New Orleans rappers, those Louisiana rappers, and just musicians in general, even probably get a second line going in there to do all this. But what's to say that Kendrick, if you look at what Not Like Us was about and the idea of actual like black artists doing the thing and coming together and everything like that, what's to say that he won't do something like he did with the Pop Out, where he is bringing Wayne and Cash Money, and he's like, hey, y'all, I'm Kendrick Lamar. Here's a song or two. It's like, but I need y'all to recognize something. In the same way that I talked about it and I showed you in LA, let me show you what hip-hop has become because of these greats. And then you do bring out Cash Money, and you do bring out Another Limit. Now, they may not want to do it. That may have always potentially been on the docket to do, or something that was percolating in his mind. They may not want to do it now after all of this arguing and back and forth. I ultimately hope that is what ends up happening. I'm not necessarily trying to see Kendrick bring a bunch of people not from New Orleans, to be honest with you. I don't have a problem with it. I also don't think, just by the nature of, like, someone brought up, he did a song with Taylor, so that maybe she'll pop up for Bad Blood. I think that would be stupid, in the sense of, again, you're A, trying to make stuff like so pro-black. B, she will play the Super Bowl herself. Once Jay-Z's contract is up, I believe this is his last year. I think it was a 5-year stint. Then I'm sure that she'll get her own halftime show. She's in the middle of eras anyway. I'm sure she's tired and doesn't even necessarily want to do that right now. She'd probably wait to do that once that's all said and done. But we'll see. All that being said, man, I want to know what y'all think in the comments. Do you like Kendrick as a choice? Would you have preferred Wayne? Do you think people are overblowing this? I personally kind of think it's a little overblown, especially because there are more important things that are actually a little more detrimental that have been going on to, like, black folks, black celebrities, but black folks in general in the last day or so, that I wish more attention was paid to versus just this. But let me know what you think down in the comments, and let's pop off to the next story. Tyreek Hill was arrested outside of the stadium right before the week 1 kickoff in Miami. Now, this is also going to be the TMZ version of this story. So let's jump into it, man. Police have just released footage from Sunday's traffic stop involving Tyreek Hill. And in the body-worn camera video, you can see cops yanked the Dolphin star out of his sports car and threw him onto the ground following a dispute over his window. The incident happened right outside of Hard Rock Stadium just hours before Hill was slated to play in Miami's season opener against the Jacksonville Jaguars. In the new vid, multiple motorcycle cops can be seen pulling over Hill after he initially appeared to speed by them on the way to the game. You can clearly see things got contentious almost right away after one cop tapped on the receiver's window. Hill screamed, "Don't knock on my window like that, man. Don't knock on my window, don't knock on my window." After a little more back and forth, Hill can be said, "Just give me my ticket, bro, so I can go. I'm finna be late. Do what you gotta do." He then re-rolled up the window and he said, "Keep your window down." The officer did as he knocked on it again. Hill wouldn't immediately get out of the car after being asked to do so. So then the cop opened his door, dragged him out. The cop then put his knee in Hill's back and slapped handcuffs on him. Hill can be heard the entire time on the phone with his agent, Drew Rosenhaus, saying, "I'm getting arrested, Drew." Meanwhile, cops continue to yell at Tyreek, with one saying, "When we tell you to do something, you do it, you understand." The law enforcement member added, "Not what you want, you do what we tell you, you're a little effing confused." They eventually got Hill to his feet, tried to get him to sit on the nearby curb, but he wouldn't do it immediately. Officers forced him to sit at that moment. He's screaming about his recent surgery on his knee. I'm going to show you all of this. Actually, I did clip out part of the body cam footage. Seconds later, two of his teammates, Callis Campbell and Janu Smith, arrived on the scene, but cops ordered them to move away, all while threatening to throw them in cuffs. Rosenhaus eventually made his way to the scene, and Hill was ultimately given 2 traffic citations and released. He went to play in the Dolphins opener, and he balled out, logging 7 catches for 130 yards and a touchdown, and he actually poked fun at the run-in with the cops in his end zone celebration. The new video, meanwhile, is sparking outrage all over social media. Dolphins star corner Jalen Ramsey posted on X that the officers needed to be fired immediately. MFers like them can have no type of power. He continued, "They've got to go." All right, so let's go ahead and watch it real quick. This is the body cam footage from Tyreek Hill.
Hey, don't knock on my window like that, man. Don't knock on
Why don't you have your seatbelt on?
Don't knock on my window.
Why don't you have your seatbelt on? Window down.
Don't tell me what.
Keep your window down. I'm gonna get you out of the car. As a matter of fact, get out of the car.
Give me your ass.
Get out of the car.
Give me your ass.
Get out.
Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out. Damn. We're getting arrested. I'm getting arrested, Drew. I'm getting out, bro. God damn, twin.
When we tell you to do something, you do it.
I'm getting
You understand?
out. I'm getting out,
You
bro.
understand? Not what you want, but what we tell you.
I'm getting
You're a little
out.
fucking confused.
I just had surgery on my knee. I just had surgery on my knee, bro. I just had surgery
Really?
on
What
my
a
knee, bro.
coincidence. I just heard you in your ears when we told you to put your window down.
Chill, bro.
Back up right now. Get back. Get back. You wanna be in handcuffs too? All right, then back up. We're not playing this game here, man.
Well, I just want to know what happened.
It's not your business.
I'm coming.
Let me have your license.
I'm
Get out.
leaving.
Let me
I'm
have your
leaving.
license.
I'm leaving.
I'm not playing. Let me have your
I'm
license.
leaving.
Or I'm gonna lock you
You
up.
just told
Your
me to
license
leave.
right now.
You just told me to
Your
leave.
license right now.
Sir,
You're dealing with me now.
Sir.
Your license right now.
Okay, so you can see that whole thing was an absolute mess, including the, right here, let's look at the photo first. I mean, this is the celebration he did after he scored the touchdown. He put his hands behind his back, and Jalen Waddle escorted him off in handcuffs, which I thought was hilarious. But again, let's just talk about what is going on here. Okay, so on the first tip, I get it. The immediate thing that I saw when I saw that was the way he was just kind of talking, like, "Hey, don't bang on my window like that." Like, I mean, I don't think that that's out of pocket. There's nothing illegal about mouthing off to a cop. He didn't make any threats. He literally just said, "Don't be tapping on my window like that." And that's understandable. That's an expensive car. He does need to knock one way or the other, so it is what it is. I don't think he knocked excessively hard. So I think Tyreek was just probably in his feeling in that regard. But that does not excuse what then goes on going forward. Again, I understand you rolled up the window. You're not done with the altercation with the cop. That's not cool either. But to then drag him out of the car, force him to the ground, knee to the back, force his arms behind him. When you get him over to the curb and he's trying to tell you he can't sit down, that you're going to force him down on a knee that was surgically repaired, which you could ruin his career for that. It literally had to have that surgically repaired, and that could millions of dollars of contract, let alone God help you, you do that. The Dolphins are suing your ass because now you've taken their star receiver away and things like that. To then get so aggressive with his teammates who are very clearly hands up. They don't have anything. They are just checking on their teammate and they're trying to see what's going on, and you're screaming at them to get the F back and all that kind of stuff. There's also no doubt in my mind if they are working security for the stadium, and he's, especially with him pulling up in that car, whether you recognize him or not, just by the nature of the car, that you would understand who he is. And it doesn't mean that if he broke the law, he doesn't deserve a ticket and he doesn't deserve to be like, but like, none of this makes sense. And when people literally look and when you hear black folk talking about the nonsense that we go through with the cops, why Colin Kaepernick was kneeling in the first place, this is the bullshit that we're talking about. You're talking about a situation where these cops just really out here in these streets thinking that they could just do whatever they want. And unfortunately, the police state that we live in right now, that's kind of what's been going on, that cops just kind of have free reign to do what they want, man. And I get it, law enforcement officers, I get it. The main directive is we're trying to get home, but you don't think black folk ain't just trying to get home, just trying to get to work, etc.? Like, even looking at the way he was speeding, he wasn't doing like 70 and like a 30. He was probably pushing, it's clear he was running late. He's probably pushing like 45 or 50 in like a 40. And like, again, still illegal. You need to pull him over and give it a ticket. Cool. But the way this attitude went so fast and how aggressive this got was absolutely unnecessary. And thank God that this was someone like Tyreek Hill, because had this been just a regular ass dude, who knows what could have happened? Because they already almost put it in a situation where Tyreek and the other two players, I want to make sure I get their names right, Callis Campbell and Janu Smith, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it got out of control so fast, so incredibly fast. And this is one of those things that you hear a lot of black folks say a lot of times, that, yeah, you got the racist white officers, but the ones that are actually scarier are black officers, brown officers, and women, because there's this idea that they have to prove that they're more blue than they are whatever other demographic that they represent and whatnot. So they're always a little more aggressive here. And that's exactly what felt like went on this entire time, man. This whole thing absolutely disgusted me, and I'm just grateful that like Tyreek didn't end up getting hurt. And I thought the TD celebration was hilarious, because in the same way that like you'll see a comedian use stage time, you'll see a rapper use a song to try and use that as a moment to take shots at and to speak on what they're going through. I thought that was hilarious for Tyreek to do that, man, and to really stick it to him and literally take his frustrations out on the Jaguars. If Jacksonville wants to feel bad about this loss, they need to also probably be suing these cops, because you done pissed Tyreek Hill the F off. Last thing I'll say, I didn't go and get the video, but I saw that Tua, gave a speech, and I didn't love it. It felt very, for lack of a better word, very cornball. I get that he was trying to just play politics, maybe didn't know the whole situation. He did say, I do back my teammate and stuff. It just felt like it was too, like, in that moment, if your boy came in and said, hey, it's this, that, and the other, just be like, hey, look, I haven't seen the body cam footage and stuff like that, but from what I heard from him and my other teammates, things got out of control. That's completely unnecessary. Like, there's a reason why, folks have been talking about how we need to treat everyone better, especially black folks, when it comes to policing. So that's absolutely absurd. I'm looking forward to seeing what the investigation is versus kind of tap dancing around him, man. I didn't love that, but he's not my quarterback, so I ain't got to worry about it. I want to know what you think, y'all. Let me know down in the comments what you thought about this entire Tyreek Hill situation, man. Like I said, it got out of control pretty quickly, so let me know. Let's go on to the next story. Beyonce received absolutely 0 CMA nominations, despite being the first black artist to ever top the country charts of Billboard. This is also the TMZ version of the story. Beyonce may have had one of the biggest country albums of the year, but it wasn't enough for the megastar to receive a single nomination in the 2024 CMA Awards. The singer's Cowboy Carter album and hit single Texas Hold'em were both snubbed by the popular award show, with the Grammy winner fully shut out when the nominations were announced on Monday. Instead, Morgan Wallen led the charge, earning 7 noms, including Entertainer of the Year and Song of the Year. Chris Stapleton and Cody Johnson fell just behind Morgan, nabbing 5 nominations each. Hip-hop rapper Post Malone, who has now dabbled himself into country, also received 4 CMA awards, even though Beyonce got none. Beyonce fans have already flocked to social media to express their outrage over the snub, with many calling on the singer to announce a new tour during the CMAs broadcast to steal attention from the event. Others, unsurprisingly, called out Bey's complicated history with the CMA Awards. Let me show you this real quick. When the singer was infamously booed while performing with the Chicks at the 2016 show. In fact, this unpleasant experience seemingly motivated Beyonce to do a country album, as she confirmed in March that Cowboy Carter was born out of an experience where she did not feel welcomed. Beyonce proved she could dominate the country space with her new album, spending 4 weeks on top of Billboard's country chart. Not only was she the first black woman to achieve this accomplishment, she also became the first black person, not just woman, black person to have a #1 song on Billboard's Hot Country chart. Texas Hold'em spent a notable 10 weeks on top of that chart, so it's no wonder fans are ticked off to see Beyonce seemingly snubbed by the members of the Country Music Association, who vote in every category. We reached out to Beyonce for comment, and so far no word back. I didn't. TMZ did. But yeah, man, let's... Oh, and here are some of those tweets that were mentioned previously. So yeah, let's talk about it, bro. It's infuriating. And this is actually one of the reasons why Beyonce, as she mentioned, a negative experience she had, but why her, Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3, so Renaissance, Cowboy Carter, and then supposedly her third album is potentially a rock album. All three of those genres, so the dance hall music, country, and rock and roll, all stemmed from black music. And then they kind of spiraled into what they are today. They evolved into what they are today, but their roots come from black music. And so to see something like this, and it's funny because I have a number of people in my life, I mean, I'm from Texas, but I have a number of people in my life who are diehard country fans, and they've been trying to get me to get involved. And there's a song here and there that I like, but it's become hard for me to really just go for it, because when you see stuff like this, and when you see like Morgan Wallen, who, very, very publicly and famously got, called out, rightfully so, like had his SNL, musical guest appearance canceled and then reinstated later for using the N-word just very openly when talking to people, man, but he is the #1 country artist by a mile, and everybody is fully rocking with him like it never happened and things like that. It's just one of those things where it's like, it's so hard for me to want to get into country because they have made it very not welcoming for black folk. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I went to one country concert a couple years ago, and I just remember, like, there was a point at which they were doing the national anthem. It was in the height of like the Colin Kaepernick stuff. And, I just didn't stop to put my hand on my heart. I was just kind of going about my business or whatever. And like the dirty looks and, or the, some of the under the breath, ridiculous comments that were said to me, man, like, I get it. I understand if you feel some type of way one way or the other. I didn't go so far as to kneel. I didn't want to draw any extra attention to myself, but at the time, I was pretty upset with everything that was going on, how things were being talked about. So I just chose to just do my own thing. And in that moment, like, again, just the hostility that came out of it, it's this idea that, like, if you're not in line, then you can catch any sort of hell and a handbasket, man. And like, shout out to Shabuzi. I'm glad that Shabuzi is getting what he deserves as far as like his acclaim and everything like that. Bar song Tipsy has been #1 on the charts for a few weeks now, which has been amazing. I'm so happy to hear that he is seeing that I've rocked with him heavy. But like, that's just wild to me. And there will be criticisms that will be like, oh, well, Beyonce's album wasn't like a true country album. She kind of did Beyonce doing country and all that. Yeah, but there was enough like legitimate country songs that if not the whole album, she could have got a nod for Texas Hold'em. You know what I'm saying? She could have got it for her version of Jolene, which actually had Dolly on there with her. Like, this is the same shit we saw with Lil Nas X when, like, if you want to talk about music going forward, that's different. But the song Old Town Road and everything that it was, the fact that it took having to go get Billy Ray Cyrus to even give any sort of acknowledgement, and shout out to Billy Ray for doing that. Again, you're kind of proving whatever point about like you are trying to be exclusionary and racist and lock people out like that. It's ridiculous to me. There's no reason that she couldn't have gotten some sort of awards, and if anything, this would have been, or like nominations, and this would have been the way to bridge the gap for that absurd booing of her doing a fantastic performance of Daddy Issues with the Chicks, man. So this is the stuff that to me is things to be more pissed off about than the Kendrick Lil Wayne Super Bowl situation. This, Tyreek Hill, those are the things to be pissed off about. Not, again, if you're watching a clip out, go watch the other clip out of what I had to say about this. I already laid all that stuff out, or rewind it if you forgot and you're watching the full thing. Just go look at it there, man. But either way, I want to know what you think. Let me know down in the comments, man. Let me know how you feel about this whole situation. If you think Beyonce got snubbed, if you think that she shouldn't have got one in the first place, let me know. Let's jump to the next story. This one has me a little bummed out, man. Legendary icon James Earl Jones has passed away at the age of 93. The source for this one I'm using is from Mark Kennedy at AP News. James Earl Jones, who overcame racial prejudice and a severe stutter to become a celebrated icon on stage and screen, eventually lending his deep commanding voice to not only CNN, The Lion King, but also to Star Wars as Darth Vader, has died at the age of 93. His agent, Barry McPherson, confirmed Jones died Monday morning at home in New York's Hudson Valley region. The cause was not immediately clear. Pioneering Jones, who in 1965 became one of the first African-American actors in a continuing role in a daytime drama As the World Turns, and worked deep into his 80s, won 2 Emmys, a Golden Globe, 2 Tony Awards, a Grammy, the National Medal of Arts, and Kennedy Center honors. He was also given an honorary Oscar and a special Tony for Lifetime Achievement. In 2022, a Broadway theater renamed itself in his honor. He hit an elegant figure late in life, with a wry sense of humor and a ferocious work habit. In 2015, he arrived at rehearsals for a Broadway run of The Gin Game, having already memorized the play and with notebooks filled with comments from the creative team. He said he was always in service of the work. Jones created such memorable film roles as the reclusive writer coaxed back into the spotlight in Field of Dreams, the boxer Jack Johnson in the stage and screen hit The Great White Hope, the writer Alex Haley in Roots, The Next Generation, a South African minister in Cry, The Beloved Country, and the King of Zamunda in Eddie Murphy's comedy classic Coming to America. He was also a sought-after voice actor expressing the villainy of Darth Vader, No, I Am Your Father, commonly misremembered as Luke, I Am Your Father, as well as the benign dignity of King Mufasa in both the 1994 and 2019 versions of Disney's The Lion King, and also announcing This Is CNN during station breaks. He won a 1977 Grammy for his performance on the Great American Documents audiobook. If you were an actor or aspired to be an actor, if you pounded the pavement in these streets looking for jobs, one of the standards we always had was to be a James Earl Jones, Samuel L. Jackson once said. Some of his other films include Dr. Strangelove, The Greatest with Muhammad Ali, Conan the Barbarian, 3 Fugitives, and playing an admiral in 3 blockbuster Tom Clancy adaptations, The Hunt for Red October, Patriot Games, and Clear and Present Danger. In a rare romantic comedy, Claudine Jones had an on-screen love affair with Diane Carroll. Jones made his Broadway debut in 1958, Sunrise at Campobello, and would win his 2 Tony Awards for The Great White Hope in 1969 and Fences in 1987. He was also nominated for On Golden Pond in 2005 and Gore Vidal's The Best Man in 2012. He was celebrated for his command of Shakespeare and Athol Fugard alike. More recent Broadway appearances included Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, Driving Miss Daisy, The Iceman Cometh, and You Can't Take It With You. As a rising star and television actor, he performed with the New York Shakespeare Festival Theater in Othello, Macbeth, and King Lear, and in off-Broadway plays. In 2022, the Court Theater on Broadway renamed itself after Jones with a ceremony that included Norm Lewis singing Go the Distance, Brian Stokes Mitchell singing Make Them Hear You, and words from Mayor Eric Adams, Samuel L. Jackson, and LaTanya Richardson Jackson. Okay, so I know you guys have probably your own memories and your favorite roles of James Earl Jones. Please let me know in the comments what you feel. I'm just going to tell like a quick story, and then we'll go on to the next one, man. So for those that don't know, I have really been doing stuff in the industry since I was a kid, man. I auditioned for the Barney movie. I was almost an episode of Wishbone back in the day. I worked for Radio Disney from like 5th grade until I graduated high school. And one of the things that I actually did when I was a senior, there was this big conference that was going on. It was for like young artists and businessmen and women and all this kind of stuff. And they actually ended up having James Earl Jones as a major speaker for this event. Like he was the keynote speaker. And so just through some grace and some luck, I ended up being able to give like a big speech at the opening of this whole thing and introducing James Earl Jones as the keynote speaker. It was my first like professional hosting gig. I had already been doing the Radio Disney stuff, but that's more kind of like VO acting stuff. But this was like my first like hosting presenter type situation, man. Only for me to find out a few years later that James Earl Jones is actually first cousins with my play cousins, with my play auntie and my play cousins. For those that don't know what that means, it means that I'm not related to these folks by blood, but they're close enough to be blood, that I refer to this woman as my auntie. I refer to her kids as my cousins. That's what a play cousin, play auntie is, all that kind of stuff. So I have had a connection to him both in my career and in my personal life forever. And so to see someone that was so talented, that did so much, that fought through, for those that don't know about his stutter, that he had to kind of learn how to talk through and to become an actor, is a super successful actor, that is crazy. Him as an activist, all these things is huge. And I just feel awful that he's gone, man. This is one that really, really stings because of just what he means to me, what he means to entertainment as a whole, to actors as a whole, to black actors. All of the there's been a lot of toxicity in Star Wars over the last few years, man, and things kind of going sideways. He's one of the bastions and staples that nobody has ever had any issue with whatsoever. If anything, just realized how iconic his voice was and what he means to the franchise. This one hurts, but at the same time, I think the thing that was so cool is he lived to 93. This wasn't like a tragic, it is tragic, but it wasn't like Matthew Perry gone too soon, especially hearing that someone was actually trying to get him killed by taking his money type crap. Michael going too soon at 50. Like, he lived a full life and accomplished so many things. I'm sure if you had a chance to go back in time and ask him, that he wouldn't trade anything that he lived through for anything in the world, man. And so I just genuinely just want to, thank, if you can hear me from the other side, I want to thank you for allowing me to start my career through you. I'll never really forget that moment. And I genuinely just wish that you rest in power. Thank you for being a guiding light to so many of us, and to bringing so much comfort and joy to so many of us. So rest in power. All right. A little bit of happy news for me. I don't know about all y'all haters, but Dak Prescott has agreed to a record $240 million over 4 years with the Dallas Cowboys. Now, this is from ESPN. To both Todd Archer and Adam Schefter wrote this story. The Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott have agreed to a 4-year, $240 million contract extension that will make the star quarterback the highest paid player in NFL history and keep him in a Cowboys uniform through 2028, owner and general manager Jerry Jones said on Sunday. The deal includes a $231 million guarantee, which is the most in league history. Deshaun Watson's fully guaranteed deal with the Cleveland Browns was worth $230, and he got $231. The record-setting deal comes hours before Dallas' season opener in Cleveland against the Browns, after the Cowboys and Prescott engaged in negotiations throughout the weekend, sources told ESPN. Ironically, following the announcement of the deal, Dak Prescott led the Cowboys to a dominating rout of the Browns with a 33-17 win. I know that these numbers are beyond anything that I could have ever imagined, Jones said of the guaranteed money in Prescott's deal. The $60 million average annual value of Prescott's contract is the highest in NFL history, easily surpassing recent deals worth $55 million in average annual value signed by Cincinnati's Burrow, Green Bay's Love, Jacksonville's Lawrence. Prescott also received a record $80 million signing bonus, passing Jordan Love's previous high of $75 million. There's a lot of me that thinks that I hope Dak is our quarterback for the rest of my time, Jones said, and that it's not just limited to the terms of this contract either. I have a lot of confidence in him. He brings so much to the table. He's a player that the team follows. That's big. This was the thing to do for what we're here for, and that is to win a championship, Jones said. I know our fans know that. I'm surprised that anyone would think that they might disagree with the decision, but anything short of a commitment is just not the case with me. I gave everything I had or hoped to have to get a chance to be a part of the Cowboys, and it's beyond my fondest dreams where we stand today. Less than 2 weeks, the Cowboys were able to make Prescott the highest paid quarterback in the NFL and make CeeDee Lamb the league's second highest paid wide receiver, securing both players through 2028. The Prescott deal also helped the Cowboys avert a potential salary cap mess and keep them from needing to find a franchise quarterback either through free agency, trade, or the draft in 2025. The path to the largest contract in Cowboys history was not as long as the first time Prescott signed the biggest contract in team history, but it still had some drama. Prescott had been set to play this season on the final year of a 4-year, $160 million deal that he signed in 2021. The Cowboys and Prescott had been unable to find common ground since the start of the past offseason, but they entered the weekend with the knowledge that they would try and work it out before the season kicked off. By agreeing to a deal Sunday, the Cowboys prevented Prescott from becoming a free agent next winter. Thanks to the no trade and no franchise tag clause in his previous contract, Prescott would have hit the open market as a rarity in the NFL, a no strings attached quarterback in the prime of his career. Prescott has directed the Cowboys to the postseason 5 times in his career, 2016, 2018, 2021 through 2023, but has not gotten past the divisional round. Last season, the Cowboys were bounced by the Packers in the wild card round. While Prescott threw for 403 yards and 3 touchdown passes, he was intercepted twice by Green Bay. Last time the Cowboys won a championship was Super Bowl 30 with Aikman as their quarterback. The last time the Cowboys made the NFC Championship was for the 1995 season. Only the Washington Commanders have a longer NFC title game drought than the Cowboys. Prescott has embraced the pressure of trying to deliver a Super Bowl and living up to the standard of Hall of Fame Roger Staubach and Aikman have set. Okay, look, I said this all summer. What are your other options? First of all, and I don't mean to say that it's just disrespect to Dak. If anything, let's put respect on Dak's name. Not only has he been able to, you heard all of the amount of times being able to go to the playoffs, and we can have a whole other conversation about doing more than just going to the playoffs. It's very Peyton Manning pre-Super Bowl situation here. Dak was second in MVP voting and made second team All-Pro. As LaShawn McCoy loves to say all the time, that's really hard to do. That's incredibly hard to do, so you got to put respect on his name for doing that. Now, all that being said, what I do want to see is like him now. You got your money. CeeDee got his money. We're going to have to pay Micah next year. It's time to step up and do what needs to be done and take it to the next level. And I believe with Mike Zimmer, I was concerned by losing Dan Quinn, but I think having Mike Zimmer come in and really tighten up what the defense is doing and making them look even more lethal than they potentially did last year, that's huge. And I need them to keep that up during big games. I think having Diggs back after his season-ending injury, having him back is huge. I think Dak is only going to get further along with CeeDee. CeeDee maybe wasn't at training camp, but CeeDee got jacked. And you saw how he was able to muscle people a little bit more, but kept his agility. There was a nice little toe tap where he jumped out of the way. I think that this duo can do it, and they have the pieces around them. I think having Zeke back, that's Dak's best friend. Back in the locker room, he looked like he had fresh legs and was doing the damn thing. I think the team is built to actually make some noise. Now, I'm not going to get my heart up because every single time I do that, I feel like Charlie Brown with Lucy in the football, and my ass just immediately just, I'm not going to do all that. But I will say, I think by having the contracts done, and Dak and CeeDee have both proven that they have got the talent and the skill to put up numbers, I think that this is finally a step to go forward. And I think that if it doesn't work out this year, you get rid of McCarthy, you bring in Belichick, man, and let him be the final thing to whip everything in shape and do what it is. Or maybe there's another coach on the horizon that can do it. But that's one that kind of sticks out in my mind as like a prestige job that, Belichick could come in and do the damn thing. But I'm very curious to see what this team is capable of. That routing of Cleveland was incredible. I think it's equal parts Deshaun is terrible and also might be losing his contract. There's another story, you can go look it up, but potentially because he has a new lawsuit out, if he didn't disclose that information, people are pointing out to a clause in his contract that he could actually get that fully guaranteed contract voided. So go and check that out. I think CBS Sports did that article, but you can Google it. But I'm curious to see what the Cowboys are going to do. I'm curious what you think. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of Dak and Cowboy haters in the comments. It is what it is. I've heard it all, whatever. But I genuinely think, who else is it going to be? Trey Lance has proven he ain't the guy. And you know, maybe he'll continue to develop and get better. And for his sake, just because I like him as a person, hopefully he'll get there one day. But you weren't going to be bad enough to go get somebody at the top of the draft. This was the year to get the quarterbacks because there were so many to choose from. Nobody was just going to be on the open market, or you were going to have to trade for something crazy. So unless somebody had a secret plan to get Patrick Mahomes, I genuinely think that this was the correct move here. And I'm very excited to see what Dak will do to take it to the next level, because I believe that he can. I believe at the very least before Dak is out of here, he will get us to the NFC Championship game. I want to cross my fingers and pray to every god that we win another Super Bowl. But at the very least, I do think Dak will at least get us to an NFC Championship game. He'll break that drought. And that's what I will say at least. Before this is all said and done, he will pull that off. That I believe. But I want to know what you think again. Tell me in the comments, and let's go on to our next story. The Penguin showrunner and executive producer explain why Batman won't appear in the Penguin series. This is from Comic Book Movie, and this is Mark Cassidy and Josh Wilding. Despite reliable sources claiming that Robert Pattinson will make an appearance as the Dark Knight in the Penguin spin-off series, Matt Reeves and showrunner Lauren LaFranc recently debunked these reports, explaining that they simply didn't feel the need to have the Gotham's protector make his presence felt. Now, LaFranc has elaborated on why they felt it wasn't a good idea to have Batman catch up with the Oz Cobb, Colin Farrell, after the events of the movie, and it's partially down to the Cape Crusader not seeing Oz as a big enough threat to bother keeping an eye on. It's interesting because Matt and I always talked about the fact that in truth, his version of Gotham City is very grounded. Batman's not everywhere, she tells Cinnamon Blend. It's a big city, and also it has been established in the film that he doesn't really pay attention to Oz. He doesn't think he's really worth paying attention to in that regard. And so, honestly, we didn't really think in terms of this idea that Batman would be watching. We were just really more focused on following our characters on our show. Talking to Total Film, the Batman director and the Penguin executive producer Matt Reeves said, "I'm a point of view filmmaker. When I'm doing a Batman story, Batman and Bruce is going to be the main point of view. To explore the Rogues Gallery, they could never get the real estate we do in a series. So Batman is in this show only as a sense that he is a presence," he continued. "You're aware that all of these events began because of the Riddler, but the Riddler doesn't appear, and Batman doesn't appear." Push on whether Pattinson appears in any manner, Reeves responded, "Rob is not going to be in the show. I'd rather take the Band-Aid off now. We did talk about all that, but we felt the best way to do this was to go on a grand exploration of a guy grabbing for power in this moment. This will disappoint many fans and in some respects feels like a missed opportunity. However, the Batman 2 is still being written, and we imagine enlisting Pattinson for a scene or two might have involved spending more money than HBO would have liked. Remember, this was originally conceived as a straight-to-streaming series." Okay, am I bummed out that you're not going to see Batman in this even for like a small second, or Bruce Wayne for a small second? Yes. But I think the logic of the idea of Batman not being everywhere, like he, at least not where we are. Remember, this was year 2 Batman. So he was still getting his groove, and we see him falling asleep a little bit more, and he really doesn't have the network out there quite that he would want to quite yet. I think all of that makes sense. We also saw that he really kind of saw Penguin as just this little informant that he could beat up the way that we normally see him do like small lieutenants or henchmen or whatever. But he treated Penguin like one of them little bitches. And so like it makes sense that we're not there yet. I think eventually we'll get there, but I don't think we're there yet for Batman to be in Penguin's life. And I think by the time this series is over, you will get a situation where now he realizes, oh, I got to pay attention to this guy. So if the only thing that you get of Batman is maybe once Penguin is done at the end of the series and you don't see Pattinson, but you see like the cowl and the cape are like looking over him and then kind of watch off. And then maybe that's the situation of, okay, maybe I got to keep an eye on this asshole. That would make sense to me. But I think all of the logic that was put out here makes sense why they didn't do it. I think the more important one is probably the HBO budget. If you're cutting House of the Dragon's budget, you think they're just going to hand you more money to bring Pattinson into the Penguin? It's not going to happen because I know Colin Farrell got paid a lot of money for this. There's no way he didn't. So yeah, I'm curious what you think. Let me know in the comments. Are you kind of bummed out that we're not going to see Batman or not? Let me know. And let's go on to our final story. Spider-Man 4 officially sets the director in Shang-Chi helmer Dustin Daniel Cretton. But it also means that Shang-Chi 2 is going to be delayed. Now, this is a comic book movie with Mark Cassidy again. Ever since we learned that Spider-Man No Way Home director John Watts would not return to helm the next film in the franchise, reports have been swirling online about who might be in line to take over, with the likes of Justin Lin from Fast and the Furious, Drew Goddard from The Cabin in the Woods, and Adil El Arabi and Balio Faleo, Miss Marvel, and Batgirl emerging as rumored contenders. Now, we have confirmation that Spider-Man 4, not its official title, has found its director in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings helmer Dustin Daniel Cretton. Well, Cretton's name had also popped up. He was thought to be the least likely to take the job, considering prior comments to several other projects, including a Shang-Chi sequel, which he is still attached to. According to The Hollywood Reporter, when Cretton exited Avengers The Kang Dynasty, now titled Avengers Doomsday, Marvel was determined to find another feature for him, and him nabbing the Spider-Man gig is seen as a vote of confidence on his work on Wonder Man. The trade also confirms that that Spider-Man 4 is running, not crawling, full steam ahead, and will shoot early next year. However, good news for Spider-Man 4 is bad news for the Shang-Chi sequel. According to Variety, Cretton has also been developing a sequel to Shang-Chi, but a source close to the production says that Spider-Man 4 is currently the priority for the studio. As a result, that movie has now been put on the back burner and will no longer be released before the next Avengers movies. This also suggests Marvel Studios won't look for another director to helm Shang-Chi 2 and rush it out without Cretton, who has developed Disney Plus's Wonder Man for them, as I mentioned previously. Back when the director was attached to the Avengers and the Kang Dynasty, it looked like he might take charge of Shang-Chi and the Wreckage of Time, the sequel's rumored title revealed by copyright listings in 2022, as a direct lead-in to that ensemble project. That was back when the Ten Rings almost certainly had ties to Kang, and with the villain now sidelined for Robert Downey Jr.'s Doctor Doom, we'd imagine the Shang-Chi sequel will be redeveloped for the next saga of the MCU storytelling. Very little has been revealed about Spider-Man 4, and despite months of rumors ranging from a team-up with Daredevil to Sydney Sweeney playing Black Cat, the trades have had little to new intel to share. Previous rumors have claimed that Sony's Tom Rothman and Marvel Studios head Kevin Feige have had some disagreements when it came to the story, with the latter hoping to scale the multiversal elements back for a smaller eventual. Rothman, meanwhile, is said to want to capitalize on No Way Home's success by bringing Maguire and Garfield back as their respective roles on Peter Parker, or respective takes on Peter Parker. For speculating, we'd say Garfield and Maguire would be more likely to return for Secret Wars, but that doesn't mean that this next solo Spidey movie won't lay the groundwork. Tom Holland, of course, will be back as the MCU Spidey along Zendaya as MJ through Deadline's report notes that their deals are yet to officially close. Holland is believed to be growing weary of playing the iconic hero, so this could be his final solo outing as the wall crawler, though he will almost certainly play a part in both of the upcoming Avengers films. We have the best in the business working towards whatever the story might be, Holland said in a recent interview, but until it's cracked, we have a legacy to protect, Holland explained. The third movie was so special in so many ways that we need to make sure that we do it right. No Way Home scribes Chris McKenna and Eric Summers are writing the script. I think this is excellent news. I can't think of a better director, especially when you look at how Shang-Chi was handled. From the familial elements to the actual fight sequences and fight choreography and action. I think this is amazing. And there's nothing that says that knowing that Cretton is so closely tied to Shang-Chi that he doesn't bring Shang-Chi into the movie. He may not be like a main focal point, but I can't think of a better way to get Simu Liu back involved prior to, Avengers, and to kind of give him some work and stuff like that. I'm sure there's ways you're going to have to redirect what he was doing anyway, since you're kind of going away from Kang, and it sounded like the rings were going to be associated with Kang. So I don't even think that that's necessarily a bad idea to get him involved in this movie. So I'm very excited to see what they're going to do with that. It does genuinely bum me out that Shang-Chi 2 is going to be delayed. It's probably been one of the most successful films outside of the legacy films of Guardians 3 and Spider-Man 3. It has certainly been the most successful origin story film in Phase 4 and Phase 5. So I am very sad to see that is going to be put on the back burner, but you know, good things come to those who wait. And I think that everything will ultimately be just fine. I really hope they don't go with another multiversal Spider-Man thing. Not for 4. I'd rather see them show up in Secret Wars. If you really want to do that, Sony, by all means, do another movie. I mentioned this. Do like a kind of like a Grindhouse scenario and do 2 shorter films, like a 90-minute and a 90-minute. One with Toby and what's going on with him, one with Andrew. And then if that is what leads into them in Secret Wars, I think that would be awesome. Like, you want to build out your Spider-Verse, do it that way. Literally go and do your thing. And what have they been up to since No Way Home is off? And then they get dragged back into this whole mess. I think that would be awesome. And let Spider-Man 4, that is like supposed to be specifically in the MCU, just let that be a street level. Tom Holland finally like focused on Tom Holland's Peter focused on New York and not space. You know, as Nick Fury said in the second one, or Skrull Fury, you know, you've been to space, bitch. Let's just focus on New York. Let's just focus on Queens. You know what I'm saying? So, but all that being said, let me know what you think about the director choice. Let me know what you think about Shang-Chi being pushed back. I want to know what you have to say in the comments. And that's going to do it, everybody. Thank you so much for watching this extra packed episode of Blerd Breakdown. Please be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know every time I put out new content. Throw a like on this video if you enjoyed all the stuff that was going on in it, man. I'm super happy to get this out. I've got a season 3 review of Bel-Air with my boy Matt Thomas that we're going to be putting out very soon as well. The final Venom trailer is supposed to be out on Thursday. I'm planning on doing something with that. I need to catch up with my Law & Order Sports Victims unit. We're going to do that as well. And then I still want to put out I have something called a thread, essentially where I take kind of more serious topics and kind of do like a video essay almost of some thoughts. And this one is specifically about crying wolf, about, you know, lack of representation or things like that in the media, and that we got to really call it when it is a problem, but not, you know, so Beyonce not getting her due for making incredible art, and not because 2 TV shows happen to also take place in schools. It's a whole thing. You'll see when I put that out. So with all that, man, I'm going to get out of here, y'all. Please be sure to come on back. Check out some of the other videos that are on here, and I'll see y'all in the next one, man. Peace.